Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Crypto Gaming Institute podcast. Today, we have the honor of speaking with the one, the only Mr. Key. Now, I would take a few minutes to talk about your background and, do this introduction. But like we were talking about before, I think that might take us about 4 hours. So I'm so excited to be able to speak with you today. Just kind of set the stage of what we're really looking at here. First, I want to dive into your story and really give the people an understanding of who you are, where you've been, and where you're going. Then I want to dive into crypto gaming and really just soak up all of your knowledge and experience here with crypto gaming and understand what you think about it, where we are, and where we're going. So thank you so much for being on the show. How you doing today?
Very good, Epic. Thank you for asking. Super excited.
Me too. Me too. So let's jump right in. I know everybody's excited too. So I would love to hear your story.
Okay. So I started my business when I was 14 years old, dropping out of 10th grade. I could not just take it any longer, and I wanted to explore life really. And from that point, for last 15 years, I've been running my marketing agency called Key Difference Media. And I've been a published writer from my age of 6, and I published my first book when I was 12. And my life has always been a journey of trying to explore new things, to break the boundaries, and to continue exploring and feeling life, experiencing life rather. And when it was 2013, I stumbled across crypto and Bitcoin. That was a time when gaming entities were incorporating Bitcoin as a payment gateway. And I had a lot of gaming clients as well then, whom I was marketing for. And that gave me that entrance into the crypto world. And it was amazing. I mean, that was a different time. There is no documentation, there is no YouTuber or anything around it. It's like just pretty much a very weird place. And we started exploring it and reading and learning. It was pretty interesting, and started to get in more into the space by working with various other entities who are incorporating Bitcoin. I mean, at that point, incorporating Bitcoin, accepting Bitcoin was pretty much the biggest utility factor. And in 2016 and close to 2017, that's when the ICOs started fundraising and so on. So I was on the forefront of that revolution. And having been in that journey for that long, we already had a lot of trained marketers at our end who knew what it is and how it works, and seen the cycles ups and downs at least once or twice before, and that made it so much easier. So we have literally in this last 8 years in the blockchain space worked with everyone from exchanges to news media, launch pads, VCs, hundreds of projects, helping them raise over $550 million to whatnot. So we have been in that entire life cycle, helping them start from the scratch to finishing the raise, and going on forward from their onboarding users and whatnot. When I was going through all that, there was one thing that kept that was ignited in me, that kept me thinking. It is always about it was always about for me the changing the status quo, changing the way the education operated. And I even in 2018 I acquired one of the other educational brands as well, and from there started Forward Protocol. So Forward Protocol is the it's like WordPress for the Web 3.0. And the first areas of focus is changing how the world learns in decentralized education. And that process started, which pretty much, I mean, right now it has one of the fastest growing interests in the space. And that's something that I've been very excited about, especially when we started at a time when people did not believe education has a scope in the blockchain world. And to see where people right now get so excited about it, it was an amazing journey. And being in the middle of the NFTs, gaming, metaverses, decentralization, and whatnot, it's a perfect time to be to be here.
That is amazing. So you've literally been a veteran of this industry since 2013. You've come at it from the marketing angle. You've raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and you've worked with so many different people. I also see, do you speak 5 languages?
I do, yes.
That's incredible. Okay, so first of all, how do you have time to do all this? Like, how do you actually go about doing all the things that you're doing?
Well, I guess when you're excited, you just do it. And to me, I like to have differences in life, and I like to switch between things. But at the same time, I like to maintain consistency and focus. So I never really picked anything and dropped it and moved on to something else. But I pick things, I learn, master, I continue doing it. But I also try and experience new things, and I look at a way of tying them all up together. I'm an adventure sports guy, and I've done paragliding, scuba diving, free diving, name them all, dozens of sports. But they all tie back to the philosophy of how I look at life and how I look at business. So end of the day, when we tie things together, it makes things easier. Instead of being 100 bits, it becomes one organized process with its expansions like a tree. And that's pretty much how I've been doing it. And most importantly, when you're passionate, you don't end up sleeping, losing 1/3 of your life. You reduce that. And with passion, I guess everything else comes up and follows along. And being in the world of being with computer for last 17 18 years of my life, you do a lot of that. You literally you build your life around computers and devices. So yeah, you make life happen. Prioritization is a key.
I love that. I love that. I'm interested in understanding, because I feel like everybody has a different on-ramp to this world. And so I'm talking specifically crypto. So it seems like you really got started from the marketing side, and you kind of built your way into running your own business and being an entrepreneur, but still being a marketer. You probably do some investing and so forth. And I feel like a lot of people have this question of, well, can I be in the crypto space if I'm not a developer or if I'm not a programmer, or like, how do I get into it? Right. So it's kind of a multifaceted question, but one, how did you decide that marketing was your on-ramp to crypto? And two, for those people who don't have their own on-ramp quite yet, how would you suggest that they build it or develop it and go about inserting themselves into the space?
That's a very fine question, because it's something that I get asked quite often. People, really, it's like people ask me the question, how do I get on blockchain? You're not an NFT to get on blockchain, but let's figure out the ways through which we can onboard. For me, marketing was inevitable because that's what I've been doing all my life. And when the opportunity presented, I jumped in. It was exciting, and it's where my best skill sets were. But right now, the way blockchain adoption is becoming mainstream, which already it has, every skill set applies. If someone is an attorney, they can be an attorney on blockchain when helping people with the legal areas related to that. If they are accountant or auditor, they could do things related to the. A lot of companies, they have no idea how to do it. And it goes for developer, it goes for marketers, sales guys, designer, whatnot, because this industry is mainstream. It needs every skill set. It needs every little thing out there. And the demand of skills is massive. Just in my organizations, that ones that I'm leading, there are more than 40 to 50 open positions at all time. We have 350 people, but it's not enough. The open positions are like, even though we hire every single week, it's just so much. And every friend of mine, every contact I speak to, they all need it. But the point is, they don't need someone who just comes from nowhere. They want someone who understands the space. And understanding space comes with studying about it, reading about it, not asking what can the space give to me, but ask what can you do to the space, what value can you add. And once you figure that specialized part, you don't have a competition in the space. You don't have a million other designers. You don't have a million other people doing what you do in the space. It is a negative. There's always deficit. So at least for the next few years. So look at those areas to start contributing, but more importantly, learn and understand the mindset of the users, learn and understand what is happening in the space, why people are doing what they're doing. Jumping on Shiba Inu and Doge coins, great. But then that's not the goal of what we are doing here. People ask me, did you check out the BTC price? Did you check this? No, we are busy building businesses here. We are not looking at the chart all day long. We're not traders. We are here to build technology. We are here to change how certain things operate in the world. And that has very little to do with the price. Yes, the crypto is gaining attention due to the price, and anyone can trade and make money from it. Welcome. It's an open place. But then there is a value addition beyond that. And that, if we are able to focus that long-term vision towards it, that changes. Because when I came in, we didn't even look at blockchain and Bitcoin as something that might it's a revolutionary idea, but to be honest, nobody at that point, probably except Satoshi, I guess, except those few massive visionaries, for most people, it was exciting. They all loved it. What if this changes the way governments work, with banks work? We all were passionate about it, but we never imagined that we would be where we are right now. People buying crypto punks for 10, $50 million to keep as a profile picture. No, we didn't imagine that. But we were passionate about what we were doing back then. And we were involved, fully involved. And we didn't have the distractions of the price charts and the million news channels out there. And we were able to continue creating the value. So I would say, put yourself in, put yourself in there, see how you can contribute, how you can merge with the field, bring your own mix. You plus the blockchain, there's a new output, something that's very special and unique. And that should be the goal. And I'm sure everyone has their ramp to get started once they figure that out. And of course, the industry, the way things are changing, you don't need to be a person doing one thing. You can do 10 things. So invest if you must, short term, long term, buy NFTs or create your own, and play games to earn, learn to earn, like with forward protocol and whatnot. Just do everything, but experience it. And that experience consolidated with your own ideas of how you function and who you are, you'll have your own answer.
I love that. So it seems like even if you have no idea what your skill set really is, or maybe you don't even have a skill set, as long as you're just pushing forward into the space somehow, you may be fumbling around in the beginning, but that's okay. But you can figure out something that you can do, or something that you're interested in learning how to do, in order to then provide value to the space. And not in the perspective of, let me try to find the next meme coin, but in the perspective of, let me try to work with the people who are building the underlying technology, the people who are really building value in the space. Let's go work with them. And it doesn't even have to be work for, it could be work with in some capacity. And then over time, you'll figure out your specific niche and your spot. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I'll give an example. Back in 2017, when the IC was pre-started, a lot of people came in, they didn't know what to do. All that they did was be in the Telegram chat of various communities, chatting all day long. And as the industry matured, like next few months, we are not talking about decades, but really months and weeks, they understood how the chat works and how people are talking. They ended up trying to get jobs as community managers in the various other project Telegram groups. And then the market went down. Market went down in 2018, 19. They got time to get more experience, learn more about it. And when the market was up again, they were more not just community managers, but they were seasoned marketers, project managers. They had skill set. They grew. So from someone who was getting paid $300, $500 a month, now they were at $30, $50 per hour, and they kept scaling up. And many of those people started their own projects, and they went on. It's like, just like they say, if you start gardening, if you just start planting trees, you would be a great, you would have an amazing garden around you, because the earth takes care of growing and building that amazing beauty around you. That same thing goes for blockchain. Just be there, listen, look around, observe. It would take you in, give you all the opportunities to you. You just don't have to do anything. Just be there attentively, passionately, and truly believing in it. When the markets go down, don't change your industry and go to something else. When markets go down, learn, study, see what's happening at all times. And those who have stayed through the thick and thin, their lives have been great.
I watched this one TED talk of Jeff Bezos, and he was talking about in the beginning of Amazon, when it was in like an investment firm or something. I don't want to butcher the story, but he basically said in this talk that when he started to see how fast the internet was growing, he knew that he had to build an internet company, because he knew that if he built a company in that space, the industry would build around him and lift, the ecosystem would lift up his business. So as long as he was just staying solid and consistent, the ecosystem would push him forward. It sounds like this is a very similar thing. And I would almost even argue that crypto gaming in the metaverse is like the internet's end game. And I'm of course very biased because I started the Crypto Gaming Institute, but truly I believe that this is humanity and the internet's end game. So as long as you're in it and you're consistently in it, the whole, a rising tide raises all ships. What are your thoughts on that?
That's very true, because everyone who has been in the crypto space are a testament to that. Everybody. I mean, okay, if I cannot make it 100%, I would definitely say at least 99% of everyone who has been there, done that, or have been taken off, lifted off. Is just similar to the dot-com bubble back then. Just be persistent enough and it would work. Hardworking and persistence always pays off with this.
I love it. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into your project right now and really, really understand it. And I think that'll give us some good context of like where you're in the trenches now. And then I want to move into crypto gaming and the metaverse, because that's the really, really good stuff. So yeah, so I would love to hear more about like what truly inspired you to start this particular project. If anybody takes 5 minutes to scroll through your LinkedIn, they see that you have like 1 billion projects going on at the same time. So let's talk specifically about Forward Protocol. But you know, what was like the moment where you're like, yes, this is what I need to do, and then how'd you take that and build it up over the last three-ish years?
Okay. Well, the vision for Forward Protocol, the non-decentralized vision that something has to change, came up from my second grade. I hated homework and I wanted to change it. And when we started looking at one of the platforms I acquired called English Forward, we wanted to blockchainize it. But when we started blockchainizing it, we realized that the framework is the same. When you create anything in a decentralized space, it's the same framework that you're building around. So why be selfish and keep it to us when we can open source it and help more people? So we expanded that to the world of decentralized education and created Forward Protocol as a toolkit that anyone in the DED space could use, decentralized education space could use. But then the miracle happened. People in the community started to say, okay, I can use this for healthcare. I can use this for e-commerce. I can use this to reward my employees in my company, because the fundamental rules, fundamental way the global value transfer takes place is the same. Irrespective of what industry you're in, if you're as a single person transferring value to someone else, it follows the same rule, or one person transferring to many, or if it's a multiple people transferring across each other, the rules, fundamentals, the basic principles of life are the same. And that is how the Forward Protocol came to its fruition the way it is right now. It's like the WordPress for the Web 3.0. It is providing various toolkits for a decentralized value-driven economy. So anyone looking at coming into the space, my biggest challenge, my biggest narrative for years has only been this: adoption can only happen if we make things so simple that anyone can do it. Because to be honest, developers are developers and they are great, creative, they've solved problems, but then there are also visionaries who are not technical, who don't understand coding, but then they have amazing visions. And then there are creative people who find amazing creative solutions, but you cannot find one person who does everything. So if we can work with those amazing technical people and come up with a platform which is so simple that anyone with zero technical knowledge, zero coding expertise, who does not understand blockchain, but just understands that the way the decentralization works, that the world has to change, comes in, uses drag and drop builder, just the UI to create new applications, and it should not cost him anything. If it's free, then they would try, test. If it doesn't work over a couple of hours, fine, delete it and move on. There's nothing harmful. But if you reduce that barrier to entry so low that people would want to try for the sake of trying, people would put their minds to it to create because they are enthusiastic, they're passionate about something that they heard over a coffee, a drink, or from their friends, whatnot. But we want to attract that global crowd in there. And that is how Forward Protocol to its current structure came up, making it so simple. Anybody comes in across industries, across blockchain. For most of the problems, they have templated smart contracts and solutions. All that they have to do is browse the contract library, look at the applications and smart contracts, one click. Applications can go to AWS DigitalOcean or to an Argo or Golem, kind of a decentralized network. And then they look at the smart contracts, go and customize it, switch on, switch off the settings, change your fee structure, change your consensus model, change everything on a user-friendly interface, just like installing WordPress. Few minutes, not months and not years, and definitely not millions of dollars on development spent, but few minutes, few clicks, they deploy on their favorite blockchain and go live. And imagine the kind of impact it can make. Imagine the number of people who would want to try it. And when someone asks, how can I get on blockchain? Well, here's a way. You can try something for your own business, for your own school, for your own application, or for yourself as a person, as a human. Try, deploy. If it works, great. Try it out and go from there.
I love that. I love that. So you saw this vision, you saw the need, and you started to build, right? How did you go about the process of, I'm not sure if you needed to raise capital for this venture. You obviously needed to acquire users. You needed to build a team. I'm not sure if you have any advisors, not asking for sensitive information at all. I'm just kind of curious of like, okay, you have the vision, you see it. What do you do from this point? Do you start building the team? Do you start going out and raising money? Do you start putting together an advisory board? Do you start going and just talking to users? And how did you actually push that forward?
Okay. So when that point came about, it was really about forming the core team of people who believe in the vision. Because everything else can come in easily. You can hire any number of people. You could find money. Money is always there. It's the most surplus thing in the space right now. So the biggest challenge is always to align yourself with people who believe in the vision, who believe in you, believe in the future steps. Someone who has the long-term perspective, not for 3 months, 6 months, bull season friendship, but with someone you can travel for longer. And that's how I met Mitch Franklin, and we started working together on that and bringing everything that we got and continue building it. So from that point, we started understanding, working with a lot of other partners and other applications experts in the edge tech space, started gathering more details on what they want to see, what is their vision, and that started growing our base of aligned people with a similar vision, much wider in the blockchain space and outside of it. Because again, being within the blockchain space helps us to an extent to create better technology, but unless we go to the real world and connect them both together, we are not making something extraordinarily useful. So we did that, a lot of that. And when it came to team, it wasn't super hard because I was running an agency with 350 people. Carving out 35 people to focus on this wasn't hard. And we started adding more people from our existing well-trusted team. And we also hired amazing people who shared the passion. Because having trained marketers is one thing, but then you need management, set of people who are also passionate about the changing the world, creating an impact, the education aspects, and so on. So we brought that team and started churning, started working, and started moving forward. Money, as I said, comes in easy because when you build something great, especially in the blockchain world, people come in, they knock your doors. They would be like, I want to invest $200,000, $500,000. People come in with that. You would be the ones who would be more reserved rather than them, because the space is flooding with people who made 50x, 100x, 200x, or 1000x over the period of last years. So their risk appetite is extremely high, and the opportunity to raise money is high. So that's like the last thing to worry about. But then having something that's sustainable, a product that would live for the next few years, at least 3 to 5 years, is really the goal. Because if someone can sustain for 3 to 5 years in the space, I am very sure 90% of them would end up with a unicorn if they persist and continue building. So once that is there with the visionary team and then strong people who believe in, everything else is attracted: money, technology, resources that you need, partnerships, everything comes into play. And from there, it's like firecrackers.
That's amazing. That's actually a very, very similar process to what is outlined in the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. That was a foundational business book, one of the ones that I first read getting into entrepreneurship all those years ago. But the concept is get the people on the bus before you figure out where the bus is going. Because when you get great people together, you may have started off looking at opportunity A, but you get all the great people in this thing together. And then as you're building something, you'll naturally shift and move to maybe destination B or C or D or all of the above. And it's really, really powerful. So it just kind of seems like Jim Collins retroactively was echoing your words now, which is really, really interesting. Okay, so you've been doing all these things. You're building out this incredible ecosystem. You have a ton of people working with you. How do you now take all of this knowledge and all this information and all of this value and let's apply this to crypto gaming. How did that come onto your radar? And what are your thoughts about it? Like, what is it? How did you feel about it when you first saw it? What have you been doing since then?
Okay. So with the crypto gaming, to be honest, my perceptions there again more focused on real world utility. Obviously, not just playing games, making games, because right now you have so many games coming out. But after the bull run, look at how many games survive after another 1 year, 1.5 year, 2 years. It's going to be minuscule. So my perspective on crypto gaming came from the education side because I wanted to have games which make learning easier. And at the same time, with just like the play to earn concept, there is always a way you can be paid to learn. So both of those went hand in hand. So if people can be incentivized to learn through games and earn to feed themselves in a lot of underprivileged economies and countries, it could make a massive impact. And the crypto game by itself, the whole NFT and game craze, it is set to grow drastically in the coming months and years. But just how crypto evolved, it is not going to be in the same form. It's not going to be in the same games would not exist, and things would change drastically 100, 200, 300% different from where it is right now. And my vision is that the apart from the games that exist for the fun, which a lot of people, the gaming world is very big. There are a lot of games that always exist for the entertainment purpose, but there'll be more and more games created even for utilitarian purpose. And there's nothing better in the universe than having micro payments and distributed decentralized model of gamified environments other than the blockchain and crypto, where people can earn and it can be distributed every few minutes, every few seconds, hours, and it can be mini micro transactions, and it can still flourish where people still have the ownership of the assets they get inside the game, the coins and the characters, NFTs and whatnot, and own it for the first time. A game goes down, a game server goes down, it doesn't mean you lose anything and everything. You can even move from one game to another, move the characters, and that is revolutionary, along with the idea of metaverse, which again was super exciting for Forward Protocol because we were exploring the educational metaverse, working with two of our partners and making that happen. And it changes how the world is operating, especially the COVID and the pandemic, the way it changed us being more digital. Now it creates an opportunity. It in fact leads into the metaverse, making it possible. And the Facebook's change of name, that is a change of direction. That's like pretty much giving a wake-up call to everyone in the world that the era of metaverses have come. And still the metaverse is on very early stage. Most of these metaverses cannot sustain the way it is right now. It has to change, the models have to evolve, and most of them will die and many will be consolidated. But as that grows, the utilitarian objective driven businesses and organizations would take over, communities would start coming in, and they would make a better use of the gamification, metaverses, etc. together, and bring that to life in ways and forms we never imagined. And that day is not far, because 10 years in the blockchain world is like 6 months.
I literally have thought that so many times. It's like you spend a whole day and you're just in the industry, and like you finish up for the day, your mind is still racing, your phone's still buzzing, and it's like, all right, I feel like I've been doing this for for a whole, 70 days already, and it's only been a single one in the best way, because it's like so much progress can happen so quickly. It's incredible. So I'm so interested in understanding, from your perspective, there's going to be so much action, and Facebook's coming in, they're entering the space. They already have Oculus, so they have a large head start in a lot of ways. They have a huge community and a huge network already of people. And one of the biggest parts, at least from my perspective, of crypto gaming and the metaverse is the network effects, because the more people that are participating in any one metaverse or network of businesses, that gives it its power. Like the true value, I believe, is in the community and the technology. So as an investor, as somebody who's building and a founder and a marketer as well, like how are you preparing for this coming revolution? I mean, are you are you like investing in new up and coming games, or are you looking at like launch pads, accelerators, or studios? Or are you, you're shifting your marketing focus to be focused on marketing in the metaverse, or like, just what other things are you doing to prepare besides conceptually understanding it to like take action to get in there now to be prepared for when it continues to, go parabolic?
That makes sense. So ideally, from an investment standpoint, that's obvious. That's something that everybody does these days. But I've been running Utopian Capital, a fund, since 2017. So we do heavily invest on anything that is something that we believe will sustain for the next 5 years and has an adoption focused in it. Definitely not the short-term buzzes. So there are opportunities that we are part of in that process. But beyond that, Forward Protocol is looking at working with a couple of metaverses that we are already integrating with. And that is because this NFTs and the gaming and metaverses are not going anywhere. It is going to integrate itself with everything around, everything, any industry and every other industry as well. So it's like everyone will be pulled into it at one point or other. And we just started taking those forward steps before the crowd comes in. And from an marketing and agency standpoint, we have already worked on a few metaverse and NFT based things. But our focus, or my focus, pretty much remains on making an impact, reaching 1 billion lives through Forward Protocol. That is where 100% of my time, my energy is, because there's nothing better than impacting lives of people, showing them that there's a new opportunity, new world out there where things could operate differently, where all the problems that pretty much kept everything static for years and decades could change over shift, a single shift. And that's powerful message to convey. So that's where my passion lies. And I would obviously be working with various metaverses and so on through Forward Protocol and through our investment arm and whatnot. And Forward Protocol would also be creating various modules for NFT space. We just launched a proof of ownership contract where we are able to not only buy, trade, speculate NFTs, but we are able to license, lease, and trade them. Because if there's no real world utility, trade and commerce to something like an NFT, the utility is going down. It can be speculative asset only for so long, but it needs to be useful. So just like Shutterstock for images, where people can license and rent things, we want to have any NFT through our platform, through our contracts, can be leased and licensed and rented. And beyond that, to help with adoption, we came up with the concept of gasless minting, and also having the ability to batch mint. Like if an e-commerce site wants to create and let's say put up and connect with the metaverse and have 10,000 products of theirs listed there in their store, then they need to be able to mint in batch and get that live. So providing that connectivity to the real world, to the NFT and metaverse, that's where my interest lies. That is, I believe, is the one factor that can grow the entire world of metaverses and NFTs more than anything else. Yes, the PR coming from the Facebook side and the strength that they have as a community, as a brand and as an organization, that's huge. But then we also need to enable every other person out there to come in. Just because Facebook exists doesn't make it easy for everyone to make their own websites. In the same way, just because Facebook focus on metaverse, they all can be users, but they will not be running their own entities, businesses, organizations, and communities. And enabling that is the biggest change maker in the world, and that's where my focus is.
I love that. So I want to be very, very cognizant of your time, and I'm extremely appreciative of all the time that you've shared thus far. So I just kind of want to get a little bit more in depth on your vision of the future of the metaverse. I've heard people say so many different things, and a lot of smart people and, not smart people, but everybody's opinion's valid. I'm just curious, like what you see as the future. I've heard people say it's going to be weird. It's going to be very strange. Maybe there's a world where on like the back end of each individual metaverse, there are like these portals to jump from metaverse to metaverse. And so everything gets way more connected. Maybe there's an infinite number of ways that this can happen. And this can be, so what do you see as the end game of where it's all headed? Is everything going to be consolidated in a couple of top metaverses, or it's going to be a bunch of different ones that are all connected? Like, what do you see as the future of that? Where's the industry really, really headed end game?
I would pretty much project that based on how the patterns have been set over the years. So we have hundreds and hundreds of coins, and you have privacy coins, normal ones. You have those which are faster, cheaper, whatnot. But end of the day, if you need to accept a crypto payment, you would accept as Bitcoin, Ether, USDT, USDC, one of those things. You would not necessarily, I mean, like if you want to pay someone by Zcash, there will be very few people who would accept it. What if I want to pay you by Shiba Inu? How open would you be to accept it? So there will be, there will be a lot of things happening. Some for entertainment, some for real world utility, but there will be a very few that sustains. It's the same thing with payment gateways. If you take a step back out of the blockchain space, there are a million payment gateway providers, but there are only few like Stripe and PayPal and few of those which ended up being the main providers. And there are few providers who are regional specific or specific to a particular industry because they specialize on, like, say, high risk businesses based gaming, like the provider of payment gateways and so on. So that way the metaverses would evolve where there will be a few primary metaverses, like the others which are like for based on views, like the privacy based metaverse and whatnot. There'll be metaverses for industries like education or hospitality, whatnot. And there will be kind of like metaverses for tourism, people who can just go there and enjoy with the virtual reality the whole world without going anywhere from their bed. And there'll be few of those, and there'll be those which mixes everything, like the way the Facebook is in the social era, mixing quite a lot of things and bringing it on. Anybody does anything, they have it there as well. So that way the changes could go on. But in the future, the way I see the organizations and businesses, they would have their address on the metaverse. If you want to visit their store, you visit them on a particular metaverse, you browse through the store, you see things and you feel things there, and you try. And because already I can see many of the websites right now, even traditional businesses, now they have live demo. And if you click on that, you go to a Zoom video call where they actually show the demo. And the next thing is to connect with the Oculus Quest and etc. to bring that VR capabilities. And then comes the metaverse capabilities, and it's inevitable. You go out, if you want to make payments right now, you just have few QR codes to scan. Few brands like Google Pay, few of those dominating ones make that progress happen, and all of that is going to change the similar pattern carrying in the world of metaverse. The only difference that I see is that metaverses would be more decentrally governed. So it's not like one brand launching a metaverse and saying, this is my brand, your data is owned by me. That doesn't work anymore. So now it will be community owned metaverses, or metaverses which are jointly governed, could be started by a brand, but then the governance would be decentralized. So those changes are very likely to happen. And the commercial aspect is what is going to make it thrive. People coming in wanting to buy something, people coming in because they know that there's a street full of all amazing fashionable brands that they want to go shop around. When that happens, it becomes real world. It becomes a real virtual reality in its existence. And that's fantastic at that point, because then you truly own your experiences, you own everything. In fact, you could even record yourself being in the metaverse and convert that into NFTs in a click and sell your experiences. Like people play games and they show their videos to others and people watch, and that's a big industry now. People go do stuff in metaverses. I'm shopping and I'm recording 24 hours of my shopping experience and I'm going to share. Those new derivative classes would come in, just like in financial world. Now you have NFTs, experiencing NFTs, and some NFTs that comes from that. So you'll have those derivatives, and that's going to increase the valuation, the total amount of money that's in the flow. Obviously, weaker things die, stronger things live, and that's the nature of life. And that will continue to go on until we reach at a point where, it's practical.
I love that. I love that. Well, Mr. Kia, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing everything that you have. I do want to ask, though, before we wrap it on up, what question should I be asking you that I just wouldn't think to ask?
Okay. That's a very good question. You've been thorough so far. I would say that shifting the focus not only from the future of the metaverse, because the future is happening, whether we see it or not, it's happening, but more about how, as an individual or business owner, what can I do right now to start being in the metaverse, start having my leg and dipping my feet in the world of NFTs or gaming. What can I do around it? and how can I build a revenue model for myself around it would be a very interesting question, because being in the blockchain space, as you rightly said, is one thing, but being in this sector is a whole different thing. And each of those verticals, from gaming to metaverses and NFTs, they're all a world by itself. And that I believe is the most important aspect. Pretty much like the like the self-development training programs, where you draw a chart about how your physical aspect of your life, emotional, relationships, everything is. Draw a blockchain chart. Talk about how much you have experienced, learned, explored the gaming aspect, the metaverse aspect, the trading aspect, the understanding the fundamentals, the technology aspect. Put that chart to get a complete perspective, because everything is connected. You could be in gaming, but you're part of an NFT and metaverse, and you have a coin that is related to the trading aspect, which is related to security of holding in your private wallets or exchanges. It's all linked. It's one big thing. But knowing how that connectedness works and being in all these areas gets the mind to start thinking the creative things, expanding your thoughts and ideas from there. And when someone comes in there at that point, it connects the dots for them, and they can figure what they need to do next. So yeah, that would ideally be the next step. Be part of all these experiences, create your own experiences, create your ideas, blog about it, put it on Medium, share it for free. There is no patents and trademarks anymore. It's all about a free world of connected ideas. And let's make an impact happen.
I love it. Well, Mr. Key, again, thank you so much. Where would you like everybody to go next? What's our call to action here for the end of this episode?
So check out my LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Mr. Key. That's a place where you get to know more about me, or my Twitter, which is connected from there. But do check out Forward Protocol. Forward Protocol is changing how a lot of things happen in the world, and it could change what you look at and how you do things in the blockchain world as well.
Amazing. Well, again, thank you so much. And for everybody watching and listening, I know we covered a lot here. This can be very complex. We really scratched the surface, but even the gentlest of scratches can still be complex. So I would highly recommend going back through, taking some notes, listening a couple of times, really let Mr. Key's words and thoughts and ideas sink in. You all are getting to hear from and listen to greatness, to somebody who's absolutely redefining how the world works. So don't pass up this opportunity to sink it all in, because there's only so much of it that exists in the world. So take advantage of it. So thank you very much, Mr. Key. Thank you. Everybody's watching and listening. Thank you. And I will see you all on the next